Charles, can you tell us the history of Christianity in India?
Yes. All right, so what's the next question? What?
There is no history?
No, there is, but he asked me if I could tell it.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't ask me to tell it. He said, could I do it? Yeah, I could do it.
Please do it.
Oh, well, but you're not Garrett. I don't even know Garrett. I know you're not he.
No, but I'm running the show.
There's that. All right. Got me on that one. Got me on that one. Okay, I'll tell all. Christianity came to India with St. Thomas, the apostle.
Oh, okay.
Who evangelized different bits of the country and died near Madras in a place called St. Michael's Mount.
Do they have relics of him there?
Not there, because the relics were later on moved to Italy.
Okay.
But they were there. Although they may have brought a few back, for veneration's sake, the way they do. But the body of the relics was moved to Italy eventually, but the tomb continued to be venerated. He did a lot of evangelization on the opposite coast of India, an area they call now Malabar, or Kerala. And the Indian Christians there call themselves Christians of St. Thomas. Well, when the Nestorian church grew out of the Persian Christian church, the churches in India joined it. And there they were until in the 1400s, the Portuguese came. And the Portuguese did two things. They converted a lot of more Indians who became just plain old Latin Rite. The Christians of St. Thomas became Eastern Rite, and the Portuguese attempted to Latinize them somewhat, and there was a big blow-up. And the big blow-up resulted in a big schism. So you had what were called Malabarese Catholics, and you had the others who were called Indian Orthodox and things like that, or Syrian Orthodox. And they sought a connection. They could no longer be connected to the Nestorian church, which had sort of been wiped out by, not entirely, but it was not in communication, shall we say, by the Mongols and so forth. So they ended up going to the people who had held the opposite heresy, the Syriac Orthodox, the Jacobites. So they've got two churches in Malabar, okay, Catholic and Orthodox.
Okay.
But then, because it wouldn't be enough, life being what it is, you then had a split between those Malabar Christians, Orthodox, who wanted to be independent of the Patriarch of Antioch, and those who wanted to stay under him. So now you have three groups, but that's never enough. The British come to India, and they start trying to evangelize, and they do a certain amount, and they create a sort of Protestant church in Malabar called the Martoma Church, so now you've got four. But as we know, that's never enough. So in the 1930s, a group of the Syrian Orthodox, the Malabar Orthodox, came back to the Catholic Church, and they're called Malankaran. So you've got Malabarese Catholics and Malankaran Catholics, or Syro-Malabarese, Syro-Malankaran. So they got five, and there it sits. You've got those guys in Malabar. Meanwhile, in the rest of the country, the Portuguese, and then people the Portuguese converted, keep converting people. So you have Catholics all over the country. Certain areas like Goa, more heavily Catholic than others, Mangalore and places like that. All right. Well, the next step in this great thing is the British come to India, and you've got the French and the Dutch and all that. They all set up their own towns and subsidize their own missionaries. Starting in the 1600s, 1700s, the Propaganda Fidei in Rome sends missionaries to India, and they receive the backing first of the French and then of the British. But this introduces a tension between the clergy of the Portuguese mission and that of the Propaganda. So, the King of Portugal had what was called the Padroado, which meant that in return for financing the church, he could choose the bishops and so forth, and had a certain amount of control. Well, the parishes that were founded by the King of Portugal's missionaries were called Padroado parishes. And you ended up in India in having two hierarchies, Padroado versus the Propaganda. and they were both Catholic, you know.
Yeah.
But politically they had problems.
Mm.
And finally, Leo XIII in the 1880s ordered most of the Padroado parishes to go under propaganda bishops. And the result was something of a schism in certain areas, and that went on for quite a few years. It's almost entirely settled now, but it was a problem. And you also had, under the British, when they had control of India, you had a whole bunch of Protestant missionaries, Anglican, of course, Methodist, Lutheran, Reformed, Presbyterian, and so on. Well, in 1948, 5 of these, including the Anglicans, in southern India, formed the Church of South India, which had bishops and so on. But a lot of Anglo-Catholics thought this was a terrible, terrible thing, because it was subsuming Anglicanism to what they considered Protestantism.
Yeah.
But the same thing happened in the rest of India in 1971 with what was called the Church of North India. So the main bodies then of Christianity in India today are the Catholic Church of the Latin Rite, the Catholic Church of the Malankarian Rite, the Catholic Church of the Malabarese Rite, the Syriac Orthodox and the Indian Orthodox, the Mar Thoma Syrian Church, which is a Protestantized thing, and then the Church of North India and the Church of South India. And there, in a nutshell, is the history of Indian Christianity.
Okay, a couple questions relating to this. Didn't you say something about D'Souza?
Yeah.
Are that Portuguese from India?
It's Portuguese from India, yeah.
Yeah, so if you have that name, that's your connection. Because I know one in India,
Yeah.
a good Indian Catholic family with the name D'Souza. So I thought that was cool.
Another that's very common is Da Costa.
Da Costa, interesting. Okay, so how successful was St. Thomas initially? Because from a layman, just as a overall feeling, it seems like Catholicism or Christianity never really touched the depths of that culture there.
Well, yeah, that's true and it isn't true in the sense that firstly, you've got to bear in mind that India, in that sense, is a construct of the British. All right?
Why? What do you mean?
It's a ton of different peoples who were different nations, different languages, nothing in common.
Well, I mean, let's talk about the time of St. Thomas. I mean, St. Thomas must have not been that successful.
Well, it was successful enough. You've got to bear in mind that to survive at all without having converted heads of state was amazing.
That's true.
I mean,
what I'm trying to get at is it didn't bear fruit, obviously, in the same way that Europe bore fruit. I mean, that was transformation of Europe.
And Christianity did not transform India. It survived.
It survived.
It survived. It continued, just as in Japan. And that, by itself, was a minor miracle.
Really? Okay. So there was never a history of success of converting the leadership.
Very few. Very, very few. They converted. See, remember, too, part of the problem Christianity has in India is the caste system.
Right.
Because if you have a district and low caste people react to Christianity and say, great, we're real people. We'll go in. Well, then the Brahmins and all of them will say, well. But there are areas of India where the Brahmins converted. So you have Catholic Brahmins in southern India and West India. I know a Catholic convert from Bengal, and he's the only Bengali Brahmin I've ever heard of converting.
Okay.
And I have to say that one thing I learned is that certainly the Archdiocese of Calcutta are not very helpful for converts, because if you want, in Calcutta anyway, I don't know about the rest of India, but in Calcutta, if you want to convert, you have to get notes of approval for this move from your family, which would be hard enough, and from the head of your soon-to-be former religious community.
Why? I don't understand. Why is that a problem?
If you were a Jehovah's Witness and you were going to become a Catholic, do you really think your Jehovah's Witness pastor would write a letter?
Oh, of the former community. Okay, so why does that archdiocese do that?
Well, Because there's a lot of anti-Catholicism, anti-Christianity, and one of the charges they make is, they're proselytizing. They're luring people away, and so on and so forth. Now, and of course, since we know, modern Catholics know, that membership in the church salvation is not given through membership in the church, it doesn't really matter if you become Catholic or not.
Yeah, just use your conscience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, why suffer problems? Why get into all kinds of political issues over something that's not necessary anyway?
It's true. Yeah.
I mean, just be grateful, of course, your own ancestors did it under the British or the Portuguese.
That's true. Yeah, it's too much like hard work.
Yeah.
And they're fine.
Well, and there could be a riot. We could get hurt.
That's true.
I mean, don't forget parts of India. Orissa State comes to mind. Not that I am putting it out for abuse, but Catholics routinely get murdered and nuns raped and so forth in places like Orissa.
Yeah, that's scary. Best laid low.
Yeah.
You know.
Emphasis on low.
Yeah, we're all approaching perfection anyway, as Desjardins says.
Yeah,
all will be well.
We're all approaching the same place. Many paths to the same place.
I don't know where you're looking.
Snap, crackle, pop.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Many paths, one location.
Well, as the Jesuit said, that's an abstraction. Right? No, that's a. Did you say metaphor?
Symbol.
Symbol. There we go.
It's a symbol of Jesuits burning in hell forever.
Yeah, symbol. So.
Of Jesuits burning in hell forever.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Sent there by their superior.
Sent there by their. Oh well.
Well, they have to obey.
That's true. Yeah.
Anyway, moving along. What else we got?